Hello, welcome to Real Person Reviews. My name is Sam, and I'm a real person. And today I want to talk to you about Splatoon 2 Octo expansion. Something that I keep accidentally calling Big Octo expansion. I don't know where I got big out of this, but for the longest time I thought it was that. Um, and the reason I'm doing this in a weird time now, so much later, is because well, see, originally I did get this a lot earlier, and I played some of it, and I was terrible at it and didn't like it. And so I was like, okay, well, it's not really for me. It's too hard. I don't care about this, and I quit. But I recently replayed Splatoon 2, and then I thought, maybe, maybe I'll like it this time. I beat the campaign again. Maybe this would be a nice continuation of that right after it. And I decided to replay it, and I actually ended up beating it. I got 99% of the things you can do in it. So I figured, why not do a review on it now too? That I finally did that. I mean, it's not too late. People could still get it and play it. So here we are. Obviously, this is DLC, so I am going to assume you know some of the basics of Splatoon 2 in the first place. And also, there's a written review. You'll probably find that in the description. So I think those are the only things I really need to do to preface this. Um, yeah. So, although there will be a little slight spoiler section in here. So, I mean, I'll let you know when that is, and but yeah, that will end up in here. So just be aware of that. So, not the big Octo, the Octo expansion. I'm gonna do that a lot, I think. The Octo expansion, uh, is well, okay, so you get this DLC, and then it opens up this little alleyway you go down to in the main hub here, and you'll go in there, and basically the story starts out with you waking up as an octoling who has lost their memory. They don't really know who they are. They're met by Captain Cuttlefish, who is you're both basically somehow stranded in this weird underground deep sea metro area, and you're trying to find your way to the surface. You find this train station, and basically you hear from this telephone booth pole thing creature down here that's like, hey, you're test subject 10,008 or whatever. So he's like, I'll call you Agent 8. And it's like, oh, okay, so basically you need to you can go to the promised land, but to do so you have to find the four things that are hidden somewhere underground in these train tracks and train stations and whatnot in order to open the door to the promised land. So you have to go through basically all these different train stations are stations to these test chambers, and so passing the tests gives you these little mementos, and you need to search all these places in order to eventually, beat each level. Essentially, these tests are like a big map of levels on these different lines and tracks. So you have some freedom to pick different levels that you want to play. As you're going along, kind of picking your path. As you beat levels, you go to the next level. There are adjacent levels. There are places where tracks will intersect, so you'll be able to pick out kind of different ways you want to go, pick your route essentially. And once you find a new track, it'll show you the whole track. It won't show you how many levels necessarily are there, but it'll show you the whole track there. And if there's a thing there, there'll be an indicator that one is there, so you know kind of where to go. So you're kind of going around there trying to find all of those, because you're assuming that's really your only way to get back to the surface. Also, I guess I'm not entirely certain on some of the lore here, but it seems like a lot of people have been down here and have been trapped, and just can't really find their way to the surface. I don't know if they've been stuck down here because they got sent here, or if they've just found their way up to here. There's people from this old world, and they haven't been able to go to the regular world because they were sealed away or something. I don't know. I don't think the lore does a lot to explain it in the game here necessarily, so I'm not going to pretend like I know more than we are given here, but that's as far as I know right now. But the basic gameplay loop then is that essentially you go and you select a level, and every level has this cost of points in order for you to attempt the test. Before you start, you actually talk to the train conductor dude, and he'll give you some hints as to how to beat the level. Um, Sometimes you're given different weapons, weapon choices that'll have different rewards because you do get points for beating the level as well, which helps you do more levels and whatnot. Um, so easier, generally, the easier weapons will give you less payout, and more difficult weapons will give you more payout. Um, but there's always a recommended weapon, and sometimes there is only one weapon, so that's the thing you have to use. So it really does depend on the stage. Um, you play through the level, do the thing the level tells you to do, and then you beat that, and then you'll be given this. You'll be able to pass to the next adjacent levels. You'll also be given a little thing called a memento called a mem cake. There's a guy on the train who wants these. If you get a full set of like a train line, all of the mem cakes, beat all the levels in that line, you'll get a full set, and then he'll reward you with stuff you can wear. And you also, if you get all of everything, there is a bonus. I won't spoil that here, but there is a bonus for getting 100% of everything. So you do that, go through the lines, and try to find your way to the different things. That's pretty much all it is. Every time you find a new line, the conductor will give you some extra points and whatnot as well. And whenever you get a thing, you bring it back or whatever, and you just kind of do a little cutscene about that. And that's the main gameplay loop, is doing that. And essentially there is basically there's the 3 bits of the little intro section, the bulk of the game playing all these different challenge levels, and then the last leg is like a Dr. Wily's Castle-esque gauntlet of levels as well. Also to note for some of these levels as well, there are checkpoints in them typically, and when you die you'll go back to checkpoints. So some have limited lives for that. If you run out of lives, I guess all of them usually have limited. Not all of them. A lot of them have limited lives. So if you run out of lives, you can spend some of your points to restart at the last checkpoint rather than restarting at the beginning of the level. There's also a skip function where if you play enough, essentially if you fail enough times on a level, it'll give you the option to skip it. You will not get the rewards for beating it, but you will be able to pass it and at least progress to see more story things. Also, periodically you'll be getting chat logs from Pearl and Marina, and they're just mostly for flavor things and for the lore and whatnot, but you have those as well. And actually, on these little mementos, you can go into the memento screen and be like, oh, you can read little tidbits about the little things that you got. So the bulk of this game, like I say, the bulk of this is really about playing the levels, and there's a pretty big variety of the kinds of levels you're playing because they are mostly challenge levels. There's not really progression in this, so it is about going into the levels and just trying to beat them. And they play around with the mechanics in a lot of different ways. So there's things a lot of them have limitations, like you only have so much time, or you have a limited amount of ink. Sometimes they'll have it where you can't take any damage at all or touch any enemy ink. There's levels where you'll have a special for the entire level and you have to get through it using that. There's new boss battles, fighting the bosses from the main campaign, but harder versions of them with other rules applied. There's some levels are more action levels, where some of them are more and combat and fighting stuff, where others are more like puzzles. There are a few levels that are Rainmaker levels and tower control levels, but with against enemy AI. There's also some levels where it's just defeat all the enemies or break all the targets. Do all of these things. Some of them are just simple get to the goal with some other mechanics of doing things with grinding on rails or inking switches and doing whatnot. So there's definitely action levels, puzzle levels, and just a lot of them were there's some levels where basically you'll have more freedom to go about them the way you want, and some levels that are more here's how you're supposed to do it and just do it really well. So the level of freedom and the skills and stats you use are going to depending on the different levels that you play. And I'm going to check my notes quick to make sure I didn't miss too many things here. One of there's a couple levels there's some where you have to collect all these different data points or whatever, so you have to explore all the levels to do that. There are some levels where you have to defend an orb against enemies for the entire time. Keep that alive. Um, there's some where you have to go and actually like uh, make a sculpture out of boxes or whatever, make it match the sculpture on the other side of the map. And then the big one you'll notice a lot they do here is that they have levels with 8 balls in them where you can shoot the 8 balls around, and those can be used for a variety of ways. Like you might be using it to just escort it to the goal without it falling off, or you might need it to destroy things for you or something. Like there's a number of different things, but there's a lot of them where you're using shooting 8 balls around, using the rolling and the physics and that kind of stuff with those. Um, and I mean, basically, that is, like I say, that is pretty much the gameplay loop. Um, and well, I actually really liked it this time around. It wasn't too hard for me. Aside from a couple of things, it was mostly really good. I think that what I probably appreciate the most about this is the fact that they pretty much just took all these mechanics that were already here and they just used them in really interesting ways. Um, just really exploring what they already had rather than let's create a bunch of new different things. So it's yes, you do have to be a bit more smart and more skilled with the way that you play here, but it really rewards you for learning the game and figuring these things out. And it's cool to see oh yes, the different things, here's sliding on walls this way and rotating things, and here's using the weapons in a bunch of different ways, getting the most use out of different weapons and sub weapons and specials. And really using all the different mechanics that wouldn't even necessarily normally come into play for a lot of what you're doing, especially for online play. I think that's really really cool. And it's hard to really explain much else other than to say yes, the way they use mechanics is cool and really cool, really interesting. And so that's also what kind of keeps you going as well when you're playing a level. You're okay, well, I every level is kind of okay, what are they going to do this time? Is it going to be is it going to be more of a gimmicky level? Is it going to be action level? Is it going to be a puzzle level? What mechanics are they going to use? What rules are they going to put on here? And are they going to combine multiple different kinds of mechanics and rules and things so you do special stuff with there's all these kinds of enemies or all this kind of stage hazard or all this kind of thing. It really keeps you guessing. Just it just feels like they had a lot of thoughts and ideas here, and they really put them to use. For something greater than just a training ground for you to go into all right, you know how to use weapons and do some of the stuff now go into online, right? It feels like something beyond that. And so I think it's going to be, again, really appealing if you are looking for more of a challenge. I also kind of like the atmosphere of it too. They had some cool new music tracks here, and just the whole place feels kind of creepy and eerie. I feel like there's this weird air of everyone kind of feels like they're just kind of sad and stuck down here. It's you really are trying to get out of here because otherwise, what is there? Are we just going to be riding these trains forever? And so there's that, and the end gauntlet thing is really cool the way they build that up for their crescendo at the end there. I don't know. I think it's just some really cool stuff for sure. It adds a little bit of extra lore and stuff for the characters. It's kind of neat. So it definitely is a very interesting thing to play. It's not just a bunch of challenge levels, even though it is mostly that, and that's also kind of good. That it's mostly it's about playing these different kinds of levels and trying to master all of them. And also I like that there's not play all the levels with all the weapons, right? They don't add any fluff or grinding like that. It's just no, you play the levels and beat them. You're just here to beat the things. That's really the main goal. That being said, that's maybe one of the weird limitations of this. I don't know why they have the whole points system in the first place. They don't seem to mean anything because, if you run out of points, which I never did, but apparently they just give you more points for free to keep attempting stuff, so it's you don't really... I don't know why they have them. They seem kind of pointless, ironically enough, because it's like I said, they'll give you some if you need them, and, doing the levels, I don't know, they give you so many for beating levels and stuff anyways, too. They don't do anything except give you access to levels and getting continues and stuff. That's the only thing you'd really need them for, is to get extra continues on really hard levels. So I guess you might have to grind that way if you're having a tough time with that and running out of points. But otherwise, they're not really that useful at all, I don't think. And I mean, I don't know, what So like they're kind of silly. Um, Other complaints, I guess, would be like I kind of don't like that there's no progression because of that. Again, I kind of wish they had something for you to like make it maybe a bit easier. The skip is nice, but it also feels bad. Like that's another thing where it's like you can skip levels, but like you don't want to, um, because like then you won't get all the stuff, and like the whole point of this is to beat the hard levels. So it's like it's not like it's not necessarily the most fun time. It's actually pretty stressful in general too. And so the idea that like I'm not going to get everything if I don't beat this level also kind of will weigh on you. At least you can see the story if that's all you care about. But like it does feel weird to be like I bought the hard mode of the game and I want to skip stuff in the hard mode, like right. So it's kind of a weird dynamic there. Um, I don't know. Also, definitely like it can be tough because the difficulty is at certain points. I feel like difficulty spikes, and I don't know how much of that is actually soft. Some certain things are harder. Like there are some like Girl Power Station, for example, is obviously like just notably a lot harder than most other levels. General consensus has told me this. It's not just me. But also, I mean, like it depends on like certain levels are going to be harder than others just because of what your skill set is. If you're not very good at like thinking ahead of time and doing like the kind of the more puzzly type, tactically approaching things, those are going to be hard levels for you. Or if you're not very good, like me, at combat or like precise aiming or things like that, those levels are going to be harder, right? So like, um, depending on what your skill set is, and your play style, certain levels are just going to be a lot more difficult, while others are going to be a lot easier. So there's not really like a difficulty curve to be had here, and that's probably why you can skip things and jump around to different, paths and whatnot as well. Um, and the only other thing I want to bring up here is the one spoiler bit I was warning you about. So if you don't want a spoiler at all, it's not really like a story thing. It's like a bonus unlockable thing when you get all of the stuff. So if you don't want to be spoiled on that, skip ahead. Hopefully, I'm rambling long enough to like basically skip ahead to the point where I'm back on screen again. And if you haven't done that by now, if you're still here, you're still listening, and you're like, okay, well, I should have skipped already. You've had your chance. I've given you a fair amount of time. I rambled for a while. You should have already skipped over it. So if you're still here, you want to hear this because I need to rant about it in my complaints section. So here it is. If you get all of the mem cakes and beat the game, the reward they give you is for beating it and just coming back, they also just give you some stuff like these little like medals or whatever, these tokens that you can get to like exchange. They appear on certain levels and you get them and you exchange them for like food tickets and more points and shit, which is like whatever. The main thing I don't like is that what you unlock is a secret boss fight against Inner Agent 3, and this fight is ridiculously hard. Like, I understand that I'm bad at one-on-one combat against people, so that's also why it's extra hard for me. But even so, it is a very hard fight. And the thing that bothers me about this fight is that it's also unfair. It's not like it's a challenge, because to me a challenge is difficult but fair. Unfair, like, basically this is just hard. What is difficult and also unfair, it sucks. It's bad. It's hard, and it's bad. Because, so Agent 3 has, like, I don't know what it is, like a splatter shot or something. Basically a weapon, the hero shot thing, and it's like shoots really fast, does a ton of damage. Seems to have infinite ink, so they can also just keep lobbing, auto bombs at you whenever they feel like it for free, and just never run out of ink. And they also have like several different specials on them as well. So it's kind of like, and the thing they're using isn't a dually, but they're still able to do the dodge rolls even anyways. When they first spawn in, each like wave of the fight, it's like they get to do a splashdown, and they could use a different special during the fight, kind of whenever. Essentially it's just you fighting off against a bunch of unfair stats using these specials. There's like barely any cover in this tiny arena. If your shield breaks, you pretty much die. It takes forever for it to come back, and you almost can't really recover from it. So you have to go through multiple phases of using different specials and things. 0 checkpoints, beat all of those. It's ridiculously hard. Which makes sense. It's a secret optional thing, and it's not like story related. as far as I know, because I didn't watch a video of anybody beating it to see if they give you an actual little bit of story for it. But I know that the reward you get for it is is a cosmetic item to be like, see, I beat this, and I don't care about that, so I left it. Um, Especially since I would have to no one's playing this online anymore to watch this to see that I got that. So who cares, right? But that was dumb. I was annoyed with that, and I just got really mad. And I gave up. I tried it a good amount of times where I was like, this is not worth it. So that's why I said I beat it 99%, because I didn't beat that part. And if you beat that, congratulations, you're a better player than me. That's very easy to do. I'm not very good at video games, so that's not is going to be you keep your gold toothpick, okay? That's going to be a better reward than being like, I'm better than Sam at video games. All right. Okay, with all that out of the way, Splatoon 2 Octo expansion, regular size Octo expansion, is good. Um, it is a good thing, especially for people who played Splatoon 2, like the single player campaign stuff, but wanted more and were hoping that it was a bit more difficult. You're not going to get a bunch of fun levels necessarily, depending on what you like. They're not all going to be your cup of tea, but you do get a ton of. There's like 80 levels. You get a lot of levels to play through, and it's a lot of stuff to do. And I think it's all very good stuff. I think there'd be a lot of good choices to keep it fun and interesting and entertaining while you're doing all these different weird things. It makes it feel like a little bit more than just, a level selector, even though largely it is. And I actually see a lot of the DNA for Splatoon 3's campaign starting here, which is interesting. So yes, that would be my recommendation. If you wanted more out of your Splatoon 2, more levels, more difficulty, for single player stuff, here's this. And also pretty good for, again, end of life stuff. Eventually, I think, as the servers kind of die down for online and eventually go away at some point, this will give it a life after death as more content for you to play. I believe the expansion pack is like $20 to get this. And again, I think it's worth it if you're in the market for that. I don't think that you should. You shouldn't start with this, obviously, over the regular campaign. But if you basically play the campaign first, see how you feel. If you liked that and you feel like you really want more, yes. If you played it and you're like, whatever to the campaign, don't bother with this. That's kind of what I would say. That's my recommendation. But also, you can get this if you have the Nintendo Switch Online Plus Expansion Pass or whatever. Then you'll get this just for free. Free. You have to pay for that subscription to keep it, but you will get this with that. So if you already have that for other reasons, anyways, and you have Splatoon 2, why not? But I'm glad that I finally played through it and beat it and 99% completed it, because it was pretty good. And I feel like I've either gotten better since then when I first tried it, or I've just had more patience for it. I don't know which. I'm still not good, but I beat it, so good enough, right? What did you guys think of the Octo expansion? If you guys have played this, and also, if for people who have played this, what do you think were some of the hardest levels here, and why? Or what are some of your best tips for some of the harder levels here? Because I definitely had a hell of a time with some of these things, and I will say, a lot of these levels are pretty stressful, because a lot of stuff where it's if I make one mistake, I'm screwed, and also I want to replay this whole thing again, so there's a lot of that going on. But also, what are some of your favorite levels, the most fun levels for you? Leave that in the comments as well, and anything else you want to leave about this, that, and the other. Yeah. In case you didn't catch it, here at the end of the video, I brought a Marina out. Is she even going to show up on camera? My lighting is not good for that, and she's tiny. What if I zoom in? What if I make the video horrible, and I zoom in like this, and be like, hey, here's Yeah, that'll do.